I'm Amanda, and this is Not Your Granny's Quilt Show. Welcome to today's episode. I am so excited. If you are tuning in, QuiltCon just happened. I am gonna just be honest and say I'm pre-recording this because I'm gonna be taking a couple days after QuiltCon to spend time with my brother and sister-in-law who live over there in the Carolinas. So anyway, I have Matt Harr. That's right, Matt Harr of Harr Craft Goods. You probably know him from his fantastic TikToks. He started making fun tutorials for easy sewing tips and stuff through the pandemic. And, things have just taken off. He teaches lectures, workshops, he'll speak at guilds. And he started designing and publishing his own patterns. He comes from a long line of quilters. So I think you guys are in for a real treat. And if you've got the QuiltCon hangover, then hopefully this will be help you, reintegrate back into real life. So I love you so much. Thank you for being here, and let's dive in. Hi, Matt. How are you?
Hey, Amanda. I'm so good. Good to see you. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, it's so good to see you too. I'm so happy we could do this. And,
Yes, thank you.
I've been stalking you from a while. No, stalking is like a very intense way to say I follow.
Yeah.
I follow your work.
Yes, thank you. I follow your work. I listen to you guys weekly. So
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so flattered. I just get still flustered when people are like, "Oh, I listen to your show." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Oh, right."
Yeah.
That's why I do this. So people will listen to me.
Oh, right. That's the whole reason. Yeah.
Force you to listen to me talk. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I'm so excited to talk to you today and to just learn more about you. And, I think you're kind of like me where you just you just are yourself. You just put it all out there. And so I don't think that there's any secrets we're going to unfold, but I just love talking to people and learning, directly from them. And it can be out there on the internet, but it's just always nice to have the conversation about it. So
Totally.
Yeah. Well, I mean, then let's dive in. How did you get into sewing and quilting in the first place?
So I come from a family of quilters. My great grandma, grandma, and mom were all quilters. My mom, was younger whenever I'm the firstborn. So,
Me too.
yeah. And, so I spent a lot of time with my grandma, and, by the daytime I would work in the garden with my grandpa. He taught me a lot about gardening. And then at night, my grandma she was a hand quilter. She always liked to have a little panel quilt and do a little hand quilting.
Mhm.
And she had her Q frame set up, and she'd pull that up to the Davenport, and we would watch reruns of Dallas. And so like a Q frame was like this PVC bigger frame basically, and with a quilt over it, it makes a really nice fort. So when I was about 4, I would be over at my grandma, she would be hand quilting, and I would be underneath the frame sitting on her feet in my little fort having fun time. And when I started growing, and it was too much for her to sit on her feet, she would give me a little hand quilting task to do to keep me occupied. So she would put a little quilt sandwich in a frame and start teaching me how to quilt. So I started really early on, and then my great grandma taught me how to sew buttons onto things. My mom taught me how to read patterns and how to sew on a machine. And I'm an actor and dancer by training, so I did a lot of sewing to kind of support that. You need costumes and set pieces and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's really how I got started. And I had my master's degree in dance, and I would perform professionally for a little while. I ended up in LA and was working in costume shops in LA and Las Vegas, and expanding my knowledge of working with garments and that kind of thing. Then COVID happened, and the performance opportunities kind of dried up, and I started teaching quilting on TikTok. So I started in the quilting world officially because of COVID, and just been going with it ever since. And now I have a little bit of a platform, and so excited to do. I'm covering quilt fashion. I got to cover quilt fashion for Modern Quilt Guild last year, and this year I'm being brought back to do the same coverage. And we're able to expand it this year. We're going to have a proper fashion show on the demo stage, so I'm very excited about that. That's kind of a dream of mine, and so that's where we are now.
Wow. Wow. It's just, I just love hearing people's stories. I love
Yeah.
just like learning how we all got to this
And you
place.
started
And
really young too, didn't you?
kind of like I've been around it sewing my whole life because my mom has always sewn, but I was
Yeah.
just so scared of her machine and like scared to mess it up that like I stayed away from sewing. I mean, I could like I hemmed curtains, I did like little things here and there, but
Yeah.
it wasn't like sewing wasn't my thing. And then my friends forced me to learn how to quilt when I was like well in like 2017 I think. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, my mom's like, oh, now you want to sew. But I've been
Yeah.
always around it. Like, I've always been exposed to it. So it wasn't really like learning the vocabulary and kind of how certain things work was later. But I
Like
was
the big
familiar.
general concepts and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Yeah, I knew
Yeah.
that. I knew that about your story, that your
Yeah.
mom was a sewer and started
Yeah.
early on.
Yeah. And she would always like, if I was ever like, Mom, I want some dress up clothes or whatever, we'd like go to Joann's and she'd buy
Yep.
some, satiny, whatever, like apparel fabrics and just kind of satisfy my little need to be a fairy princess constantly. And
That's cool.
yeah, so yeah, it's kind of funny because like my grandma could sew, but it wasn't like her thing. And but my mom learned from her grandma, and so it was like kind of skipped that. Like it's always been my mom's thing. It's always been
Yeah.
like kind of her escape, her hobby, her everything. So yeah. And then when I finally started, she was like, oh my God. But now it's like we eat, sleep, breathe, talk about quilting constantly. So
That's great.
we're really annoying when we're together. No, just kidding. Maybe to other people, not to each
That's me and
other.
my mom too. So
Yeah. I was
yeah,
gonna say, I bet you and your mom have conversations that could make other people run for the hills because
I'm
it's like
sure.
start getting in the weeds and everybody's like, oh my God, what are you talking
Yeah.
about? I'm like, wouldn't you like to know, weather
Yeah.
boy? Um anyway, so I guess, yeah, like through all that, even though, you were sewing quilting, what um like led you into the dance and performing arts world? Like, were you doing that in high school, like when you were younger?
All my life, I've been gymnastics and dance and theater and choir. Any performance opportunity that I could get my little hands on, I was a part of it ever since like kindergarten, ever since I can remember. I've been doing that kind of thing. I did it in high school. I got my undergrad. One of my degrees is dance, and then I went on and got my master's degree. I performed professionally in Texas while I was getting my master's degree, and performed professionally after my master's degree, and did all that. Went to New York City and did the full-time audition and thing where you wait tables by day, audition by day and wait tables by night.
Yeah.
Did that for a while and did it out in LA too. So
Okay. Wow. That's just like always seems like such a whirlwind life. Like just constantly bopping around, like just begging for somebody to put you in their production.
yeah,
Like, and it's like if the vibes are off, they're just off, and there's like not anything you can do about that. And if
yeah.
personalities just aren't vibing, like, and it's that way with like everything, right? But it's just
And
like
so
when I'm
much of
like,
it comes down to stuff that's outside of your control, because
right,
like there's budgets, and so you have to be able to fit into costumes that already exist. And so if you're too tall to fit in the costume, they won't even consider you. And so
yeah,
there's so much of it that's just outside of your control. But
yeah, yeah, that's wild. I saw like, after the halftime show with like all the people in the grass, like
yeah,
I was just like, because I didn't even pay attention to that. But then when it was like, those were people, I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God. Um, just seeing that, like, okay, if you were between, 5'7" and 6 foot and, this build and whatever, I was like, yeah, that's crazy to be so
Yeah.
specific, to be able to fit in this like grass suit to like not stand out and like make it super obvious that there's like human beings inside of that. But yeah, I just didn't even think like, oh yeah, you got to be able to fit into ready-made costumes. And I think from
Yeah.
the outside, you think like, oh, they just like make your costume to fit you and get you everything you need.
Right.
But it's kind of crazy how like social media has kind of exposed that world, like the behind the scenes of like ballerinas and dancers and performers showing like, no, actually, like this is a costume they gave me. This is how I have to make it work. I've had to repair it 54 times. Like,
Yeah.
or whatever, like these are my show. I have to bring this to the show. It's like, oh, it's like not as glamorous as people think it is.
Just like in quilting too,
Yeah.
like
Right.
there's a
Exactly. It's
dirty
like,
side to quilting. So
yeah. Yeah. I think it's just like you get so engrossed in like your own world that like when you start to see the behind the scenes of other worlds of like creative living, you're like, oh shit, that's crazy.
yeah.
So I can just imagine. But so how did you end up getting from LA to where you're in
And I'm in
Albuquerque now?
Albuquerque. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
My partner and I, we've been together since Houston, and we were renting while we were in LA, and we had a really nice house in South Central, and then the company that owned our house was going to sell it, and so it was kind of at that time that we needed to stop wasting our money on rent and really start getting some equity built underneath us. And his family lives here. His mom didn't live at the time, but we kind of had a loose plan to get her moved out here. His brother lives out here. His dad has a house out here.
Okay.
My parents are in Texas. So, and he's a little bit older than me too. So his parents a little bit older. So we thought it was, important to kind of be close to them as they're aging.
Yeah.
And I'm closer to my parents now too, so that's great. And and we own the house now, and so I'm loving Albuquerque. It's a great city. Have you ever been?
I never have. No, I don't think I've ever been to New Mexico. So that would be an interesting trip to take. Last year was the first time I was like for reals in Arizona. Like I've flown through Phoenix and I've driven down to Las Vegas and back a bunch of times, and you like cut across the very tippy corner
Yeah,
as you like swoop into Nevada from Utah. So like that's happened, but I never like so QuiltCon last year was like my first time actually being inside of Arizona. And I'm
yeah.
like, this is dumb. I've lived in the Western United States my entire freaking life. Why have I not just like gone directly south?
Well,
Like,
because it's hot, because it's very hot. That
yeah, that's the thing is it gets so dang hot here too. It's like
yeah,
over 100 and just like you don't see any precipitation for the entire summer. So I'm like, what's the difference? I might as well just go visit.
yeah,
Not with the snowbirds because yikes, but
yeah. Well, you should come out. We have the Hot Air Balloon Fiesta in October.
oh,
It's a great time. So if you ever want to come out, we got a guest
yeah.
room so you can come out and stay. And
Ooh,
yeah,
okay.
it's beautiful.
We have a big hot air balloon festival here during Labor Day weekend
Oh, how
always.
nice.
Yeah, yeah. It started when I was a little kid and um we went this last year. My husband was like, he's like, I always saw the balloons, but I didn't realize it was like a thing, like a big
Uh,
festival in the park. I'm like, yeah, they've always done this. Like as a kid, we'd wake up early in the morning and go sit on the ridge and watch them rise up into the sky and eat
it's
donuts.
beautiful.
And yeah, so
Yeah,
oh, but that would be so fun. I love hot air balloons. They're so cool.
yeah.
And they're giant, they're like giant quilts. So
Exactly. That's what I think is so cool about them.
yeah, yeah, that's so funny. It'd be fun to like compare and see which ones like come to my
Yeah,
area and then come to
yeah,
yours because like
exactly.
I'm sure most of them like they go all over the place to
Yeah.
different festivals and stuff. But anyway,
There's
that's
like
so
the
fun.
the Darth Vader balloon, I'm sure, come make his way around. So
Yeah, yeah. We have yeah, we get balloons from everywhere. So it's really fun. But that's so cool. And well, I might take you up on that invitation because
yeah,
that sounds like a good time.
yeah, come on down.
Well, so you've like integrated yourself though because you've got like you're president of your modern guild.
Yep, Albuquerque Modern Quilt
chapter,
Guild. Yep.
and you teach lectures, you teach workshops, you're just like fully in quilting world. So like, how has that transition been? Do you miss dance? Do you miss performing? Do you feel like you get to scratch that itch by like being on TikTok all the time? Like,
I do, like teaching for my last few classes that I've taught had like 25 people in them. So teaching for all that people kind of scratches that itch for me. I do love to teach. It's, I have a really good time teaching. And I do miss performing. I'm a little older though to be doing, my body doesn't quite work the way it does. So I do like this kind of quilting fashion niche that I'm carving for myself. And like the thing that I struggle with is a lot of my knowledge, because we did a lot of custom costume work, and we made the pattern ourselves. We draft everything like right then in the moment and start workshopping with the finished fabrics,
mhm.
and having to translate that and to teach a class and to write a pattern that's like kind of a one size fits all, or like one size fits mini or something like this, is kind of been a struggle for me, because I am just used to making those alterations live in the moment, and so that's kind of where I'm at right now, is where to continue down this path, and brainstorming ways to kind of pull that off. So
Yeah. Yeah. I guess teaching, like, I mean, I was an elementary teacher, so like
yeah.
there's an element of performance to getting up in front and like presenting the information and like getting people bought in and invested in what's
Yeah.
happening at the front of the room, and like, but yeah, I just feel like that would be like a tricky switch, because you're just like, yeah, it's just so different. It's just so different to, in terms of, yeah, like what your body's doing, what your brain is doing, and I don't know.
My creative soul is being fed, so
Yeah.
that's where I come at it. Like, sure, it's not as physical, but that's, it's still physical. It's still.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. I mean, yeah. And I think as things change, as you bump up against different versions of yourself, like it can be like in your mind and your situation, not you specifically, but uh like a no-brainer to make the switch, or like a no-brainer to make that pivot, but like for some outsiders, it's probably like, what, why would you do that? And it's
Yeah.
like, well, let me tell you why.
Yeah.
So like, I guess I can relate in that sense, because people are like, oh my gosh, but you were, your
Such a
teacher, and
good
I'm like,
teacher. Oh, well, I still teach. You're like, I
yeah,
can still teach. I can still do
yeah,
that. I can still help people out. But
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's just like, yeah, but also it was killing me slowly, so like, I choose something else, like,
yeah.
and same, like, I got my master's degree, I did all this stuff, and then I was like, I quit. So it's very like, yeah, from the outside looking in can be like, why are you,
Yeah.
why are you doing that? Versus like,
Yeah.
you're like, no, it was
No, I
actually,
get it.
yeah,
I get it. I don't know how you did it for so long, but
yeah, yeah, it was crazy, but we're here now. So that's all that
and you
matters.
were elementary, right? It was
Mhm.
all like what? It was like kindergarten first? Well, I can't
Third
remember.
grade.
Third grade? Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Third grade for all 8 years. And it just, there wasn't really anything in the wings as far as like positions that were available to me, and then I didn't want to stay necessarily in the in a grade level classroom. And so when I
Yeah.
tried, offered to like, hey, I got this new degree that you guys supported by helping me, use laptops in my classroom and be the first elementary classroom to try that out and like show that it can work, and like I wrote this whole paper on it, did all this stuff, and then they were just like, no, we're good. And I was like,
Uh,
bye.
yeah.
And so it just, that also made it kind of easier to like walk away from it, because I
Yeah.
was already like, but it's who I am. And my husband was like, actually, you could be more if you
Yeah.
wanted to. And I was like,
Absolutely.
what? And
Yeah.
even my therapist was like, oh, honey,
And now
you,
look at your platform. I mean, like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you
It's
are touching more lives this way. So
Yeah, I think so. Hopefully. I mean, it just points to that I just need to be in front of people yapping. Like that's just like really
Yeah.
that's just really where it's at for me. So regardless of whether I'm getting like admonished by teachers and being told like you talk too much or, men, it's fine.
The patriarchy will
The
always,
patriarchy.
oh, one day it will crumble and I will celebrate. So,
Yeah, I know it'll be so lovely. But yeah. So it's weird to switch, but it's also like once you do and you find like your niche and like what feels good, it's like, oh, it didn't have to be that hard at all.
yeah.
Not to say it's like so easy, but everything has its own challenges. But it's like, does the challenge feel like you're being stabbed in the chest, or does it feel like, yeah, this is a problem, but like I can figure it out. It's not that big of a deal. It's like how you approach it and what it feels like when those problems happen.
And we as quilters are creative. We have that like intrinsic need to fix the problem and go in and make it better. And when you hit that brick wall, it's very frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's like that problem solving skill is there. And I think too, it's so funny because, and it's the same, I don't know where, I mean, probably patriarchy, but like the idea that like, oh, I just quilt, I'm not good at math, or like even teachers, I hear elementary teachers like, well, I'm not good at math. I'm like, okay, this is wrong, first of all.
I work at a quilt shop, so I hear that kind of thing all day long. Well, I can't do the math. I need help with the math. And it's like I do wish it does seem like for years we were not inspiring quilters to have confidence with their decisions when it comes to colors, when it comes to like, making a pattern, when it comes to like adding borders to project, like,
Right.
and I really do. I wish that we could move towards that a little bit more. Is just inspire people to be confident in their decisions
Hmm.
and confident sewers and confident quilters and
Yeah. Yeah, I think like because I worked in a local quilt shop to me for a little while as well, and it was just crazy to me. Like these people would bring in like, well, I'm working on this quilt, and they would like bring a picture, and like I just don't know. I'm like, this is a work of art. What are you talking
right.
about? Like,
Yeah,
what do you mean? I
yeah,
would like gas them up because I'm like, no, like this is what you're doing. You
yeah.
know what you like. You know what your vision was, and like being able to have those conversations, I think also made me go, just sew the freaking fabric. Like,
Right.
I don't want
Yeah.
to be 70 and going to a quilt shop and being sad that I made, or being worried that what I made wasn't cool. Like,
Right. Yeah,
no.
they're always like that with color to me too. They'll like pick out a great colorway and they're like, "Oh, I can't pick out colors." I'm like, "You just that's awesome. I think it's great. You need to sew that together into a quilt right now." And I try to
Yeah.
gas them up as much as I can. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was like the most fun part to me is like when people would be like, oh, I don't know what to pick. And they would let me choose. And I'm like, okay, are you thinking like these vibes or like
yeah.
just kind of getting the
Start whittling
feeling?
away at it and
Yeah.
yeah.
And then pull it out and then have them be like, "Oh my gosh, okay, that's great." And then see them the next time they were coming in to get stuff for a quilt and be like, "Do you want help or do you want to try on your own? Because I think you can do this." And they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'll start pulling stuff and you just tell me what you think." And just like taking the training wheels off kind of. And it's
Yeah, totally. Exactly what that is.
like I hope that it's helping these people because it just like bothers me that older women specifically are just like they don't give themselves credit for what they
And
know and
they
what they
will
can
be the
do.
most talented. Like their quilt is
Literally.
flawless. That's what drives me crazy when their quilt is flawless, but they
Yeah.
do not. I don't. Again, it's probably the patriarchy telling these women they got to be humble or something. But I'm like, no,
Right.
girl, you're in your quilt shop right now with a bunch of quilters, so you can brag a little bit. You're fine.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I and I think too, like it's a space of creativity and freedom. Like the quilt police did us dirty by putting putting quilts in a box and saying this is how they're supposed to look. This is how you have to do this. These are the only acceptable color combinations. And if you do it any other way, you're wrong. And so then that gets internalized. And I feel like it's just so hard to break out of that feeling of like, oh,
Yeah.
somebody's gonna look at my quilt and think it's stupid. I'm like, well, even if you do everything in the way that you think it's going to be correct, like somebody's going to think it's stupid.
Well,
That's
and
just the nature of life, you know?
what looks good in your house doesn't necessarily look good in my house. And if this quilt's staying in my house, like, what do I care if you think it looks stupid? I don't
Right.
care, right? Like,
Right. Exactly. It's like, well, that color, yeah. It it's just so subjective
yeah,
that people try to put objective rules on
yeah,
and then try to make everybody else follow those rules. And it's
yeah.
like, I don't know who told you that, but they were full of shit.
It's us millennials we're just tearing that
Yeah.
apart. We're not going to have that. That's not going to stand for us. So,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like I didn't go through all this bullshit for you to tell me that I can't put these two fabrics together.
yes,
Watch me.
exactly. I have my adult money. I can buy my own fabric, and I'm going to buy
Yeah.
the fabric I want, and I'm going to put it into the quilt that I want.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And, there's something to be said for like really nicely curated quilts and like really well thought out color palettes and all that. Like, obviously, there's a million beautiful quilts out there that have that kind of like, clean aesthetic in a
Yeah,
way. And then, but I'm like such a chaos quilter. I'm like, if it's not all prints, I don't want
yeah,
it. Which feels so crazy, but like that's just always who I've been too. Cause like as a little kid picking fabrics at, Joann's with my mom for her to make stuff for me out of, like I was always picking like super bright colors and like, when I discovered the batik section at Joann's, I was like, what is all this? And like was so obsessed with it. And then, the quilt, modern quilt fabric explosion of like Amy Butler is
oh yeah,
was my first love. Just the big bold florals and like
yeah,
even though her color palettes weren't always like super bright, it was just like the boldness and the hugeness of the print and the hero prints in her pattern or in her collections were always like top tier to me. And then
yeah.
I saw Tula and I was like,
Tula
that's
and
it.
Tape and
Yeah,
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 all yeah.
yeah. So and then yeah, when I saw I saw Ruby Star because I started. When was that? I think it was just like right after like 2018 when I was, new baby quilter. The Fat Quarter Shop had a quarterly, Fat quarterly.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And it was like through Cotton and Steel. And so I was getting like all these, old Ruby Star stuff and like all the other Cotton and Steel stuff. And then it switched and it was just Ruby Star. So I was getting all this Ruby Star stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, this stuff is so cool. And now that I still have some of it, I'm like, I am sitting on a gold mine. Like,
Right.
what
Yeah.
the heck? And it came with a pattern and a coordinating thread. And it was just like so
So
fun.
nice.
And
Yeah.
anyway, it's just like there's something for everybody, which I think you probably experience in your quilt shop. Like, do you feel like your quilt shop's demographic is one that like you can lean into some of the more modern stuff, or do you feel like you guys carry more traditional stuff? Like,
We do have more traditional stuff, and so Albuquerque is a little bit flooded when it comes to quilt shops. I recently taught in Tulsa and Oklahoma City, and my classes had 25 people in it, and that would be a huge class here in Albuquerque. And I
mm,
started running the numbers, and it's like in Tulsa, there's one quilt shop for every like 80,000 people, I want to say.
oh,
And
okay.
here in Albuquerque, it's a little bit closer to one quilt shop for every 40,000 people.
Oh, okay.
So our classes are a little bit smaller, and the reason for that, the shop that I've been working at has been around for 40 years.
Mm,
And the history of how all these shops kind of showed up is like they all were very good about staying in their own lane. There was a place that
okay.
had Southwest fabric. There was a place that sold sewing machines. There was a place, our place had a bunch of boutiques.
Mm,
And so they try to still kind of honor those unofficial rules about like, well, this other shop has fabric, so we're not going to carry apparel fabric.
mm,
And so in that regard, there are certainly shops that have a little bit more modern supply. So and they're very good to me, and so I have no problems going up and supporting those businesses as well. They're very good to Modern Quilt Guild as well.
Yeah.
And so if we have a sew day there, I make sure to go and support them and buy some, get my modern needs met. Now that I'm managing at the shop, I'm able to throw my input in a little bit more on what we buy and what we order. So I'm, slowly changing things a little bit and getting, I think, things a little bit more modern. But we still
Yeah.
have our identity of we have a lot of boutiques.
Mm,
So,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of nice that that each of the shops kind of honors their lane of, you know, the quilt traffic. And
yeah.
do you see an uptick during the winter? Like, does Albuquerque have a lot of like
Oh,
snowbirds?
yeah, yeah. And we do not have a whole lot of snowbirds, but we have a lot of quilters, and so everyone was working on Christmas quilts this winter.
Hmm.
We just started at the beginning of February. We're doing the first ever Arizona, New Mexico shop hop. It's like how they do the all state shop hops.
Yeah.
We had our own citywide shop hop that we do every August.
Okay.
And this is the first year that we're doing the Arizona, New Mexico one. So we're getting a lot of people that are doing like that are shop hoppers. They're committed. They're driving in from Arizona. They're doing as many shops they can do in one day, going over and getting a hotel and getting this other area. So
Yeah.
we do have a lot more because of shop hop. More people just coming in touristy to do it. Also, we're located right off of Route 66, and this is the 100th
Mm.
anniversary of Route 66. So we do have people that are doing like the Route 66 drive from start to finish. And if
Okay.
there's a quilter among them, then they have to stop at every quilt show along the way. And so they stop at our shop. And so
Yeah.
that's been fun too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so cool though, because I mean that's going to bring in so many different people, and I would
Yeah.
just be interested to see like who comes in and
And it's because I had the platform last year during QuiltCon. It's been kind of cool working at the shop this last year because people will come in and be like, I was at QuiltCon and you look like the guy that was wearing that selvage jumpsuit. I was like, oh, because I am that
you're
guy that's
like,
going to selvage, yeah. And so
yeah.
that's kind of fun too, that like, people can clock me after seeing me out in other cities. It's kind of that small quilting world thing that's really fun.
Yeah, that's so cool because like, it can be, you never know who you're going to see there, and when people figure it out, they're like, "Oh my gosh." You're like, "Yeah. Yes."
Yeah.
It's super fun, and like it can be so interesting too, and there's like sometimes I like we'll see people like posting in, whatever those like young and millennial quilters like Facebook groups or whatever, like, I'm from Boise, Idaho, and I'm gonna go to QuiltCon. I was like, weird, I am too, and I've never met
Yeah.
you. It like feels
Right.
weird to
Where
like,
are you? Like,
yeah, like
yeah, let's get together. Let's quilt. Let's do stuff. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm like, because like I belong to my Boise chapter of the Modern Guild,
Yeah.
but then I also am part of this our other local guild that's been around since like 83, and I don't go as much to that one just because like it conflicts with stuff I have
Nice.
it's like Thursday nights are hard. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um but we do put on a really good quilt show every year, so it's like really fun to participate and volunteer for that and just like be
That's
involved for
so
that.
fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it is just interesting. Like I had somebody come up to me during this last year, like because it's always at the end of September, and he was like, "I was listening to your podcast and I entered quilts because of you, and then I won." And I was like, "What?"
Awesome. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So like just things like that, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I was in tears. I was so
Right.
excited.
People that I taught on TikTok how to
Yeah,
quilt have gone on to like start, quilting businesses or got a long arm afterwards, and now they're long arming. And now
yeah,
I see them online and I see their business and I see their logo, and it brings a little tear to my eye. It was like, oh, I remember like describing how to sew a 1/4 inch seam to you on TikTok live, and now you're
yeah.
doing professional work, and I'm so proud. It makes me so happy.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, have you seen a lot come from like the what you've taught and like what your platform has been for people? And that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
Just I have one big fan lady that does sing my praises a lot, and just her alone is enough to make me feel good about it, because she's very good about saying you taught me everything. And
Yeah.
so I mean,
Oh,
I how much can you really teach somebody all over TikTok? So she did a lot of the work herself, right?
right, right.
But yeah, it does make me feel good, just knowing that she's out there and thriving
Yeah.
in the quilting world. So
Yeah, that's incredible. And it sewing is truly like once you get somebody started, it's like the very basics. You can go, it's like, teach a man to
teach a man
fish,
to
whatever.
fish.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
It's the exact same thing. It's like I'm going to teach you how to do this for yourself because once you know that, you can do so many things.
And we have so many resources now, like with YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and
Yeah.
Facebook groups, and all. We have so many ways to stay connected to people, and that is another reason why I was going live on TikTok too, because I would find these people that would be out in the middle of nowhere and didn't have a local guild to go to, and they would be like, "This is my guild. This is my time to socially sew with people," and there is something to socially sewing with people. There really is, and
Yeah.
so that's something I think is so cool, is just being able to have that space, and no matter where you are in the world, you can show up to it. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's like such a good point because I think we forget. I forget. I can only speak for myself because I'm isolated all the time, right? Like I'm working by myself, I'm in my studio, I'm, quilting, and I don't talk to other adults most of the day, like unless my husband's bopping in and out because he's like in between clients or whatever, and we can like say hello to each other between what we've got going on. Like I've been home by myself all day today. I mean, I did go
well,
to the
and
gym.
you don't get that feedback too. Like
Right,
you interview the people and then you put it out in the world, but like there's a lot of, every day you're probably picking up more followers, and unless you're like really checking that download count, you don't know necessarily how your reach is impacting people. And you're out there. I'm guilty of this, because I listen to your podcast, and I know about your life, and you share quite openly about your life, and it feels like I know you a lot better than we actually know each other.
right,
And now you have that with all these people out in the world, which is very
right.
cool, but also it's got to be a little bit weird at times too. So
Yeah, it is. And I think about like, there's been a lot of talk kind of recently about parasocial
yeah,
relationships and like how that changes people's perspective on things. And it's like, yeah, I'm out here sharing things and like nothing that I think could be used detrimentally. I don't know. I don't have anything to hide, so I don't know. But
right,
like the fact that people feel like they know me, but I've never met them
yeah,
is so weird. And I think about that too, because I like consume a lot of media while I'm working because I'm again by myself most of
yeah.
the time. So I'm listening to music or I'm listening to a million different podcasts and or listening to books on audio, like audiobooks. And I think about the way I feel when I hear certain like my some of my favorite podcasters talk about certain things and I get mad or I get like endeared to them and then I'm like, "Oh, this is crazy." And but I never ever think about myself in that position on the other side of
Yeah.
it, like until somebody says something and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's
Oh
kind of
yeah.
weird." But it's fine. But then I'm like, I'm fine with it. And I
Yeah,
want
because you're an open book. Yeah.
yeah, like if I was scared of that, I wouldn't do this. I
Right.
wouldn't continue and they're kind of hit a point where I was feeling pretty shitty like about it. Watching myself and listening to myself over and over again
Uh
was really weighing on me, but um I decided to stop giving a shit. So
yeah, good. Good. That's great.
I'm like I sound how I sound, I look how I look. Like there's not $1 million in the world that could like make me want to change that. And so I'm like, well, if I wouldn't pay to change it, then I just have
Right.
to accept it.
Yeah. And you
And
don't have to listen to every podcast too. So if it's weighing on you mentally, then
well, it was the edit because I used to edit myself
oh
like
yeah.
for 3.5 years, I
And
edited
then you go
myself.
back and you're like nitpicking. You're like,
And
oh, why did I
I'm
say
like,
that?
I
Yeah.
need to cut that whole section out. I need to
Yeah.
shut the fuck up. Like I was
Yeah.
just like, I was getting so mean to myself and I would just like cry. And my husband's like, oh my God, are you okay? And I was like, no, this is your fault because he's the one who like convinced me.
Encouraged you to do
Yeah.
it.
He was like, you really should do a podcast. I'm like, I don't know. But I really, it can go either way, but I think I really just I faced myself and my insecurities, I guess, and decided that I wasn't going to let those voices win out because
Yeah.
it's mm, a therapy concept because my husband's a therapist, so I have like all these little therapy concepts in the back of my head all the time. But the idea that like, and my therapist had to like say this to me a lot, but she'd be like, whose voice is that saying that?
Right.
It's not
Oh,
you.
right.
Because
It's somebody else's voice coming through
yeah,
you right now.
yeah. She's like, would you look at yourself in the mirror and say that to yourself for real? I'm like, well, no. She's like, okay, then who's saying that to you? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, okay. And that kind of like helped me shift that thinking. But I don't know if you experience the same thing with like,
Oh, I do it with quilt police kind of stuff too. Like when somebody who has been the quilt police to me in the past and I'm helping a newbie, I'm like in the moment, I'm like, wait, don't don't go down that path, Matt. Don't go down that path. We
yeah,
don't need this right now. So yeah,
yeah,
having those like someone else's voice coming out of me or out of my mouth right now,
yeah,
So and sometimes, that can be helpful. You can say like, yes, we always are going to press to the dark side.
hmm,
That's good advice, but here's how you have to know to break the rule.
right,
I think that's, Modern Quilt Guild is good about knowing the rule, so that way this is the reason why you would break that rule, kind of thing.
right,
And
yeah,
so there's a lot of freedom in that I get from that too, of just
yeah,
being able to label myself a modern quilter and
yeah,
chalk it up to that too.
yeah, yeah. That can be interesting too, because it's like, oh, why am I telling you this? And I think as if you're educating people on sewing and quilting, like you want to give them the best information, but
Right.
not like make it seem like this is the only right
Right. The only
way.
yeah.
And that's a balance for sure that you have to strike, especially when it's like, why am I telling you this? Like
Right.
thinking about that and yeah, like who said that and why, and just kind of having to process that because I think sometimes you just take the information and you just start doing things a certain way and you just don't even think about why you do it, and then you pass that along and then you pass that, you keep
Yeah.
saying it
It
and you're
just
like, why am I
snowballs.
yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
why am I saying this right now? Like who, what even, and but sometimes it's like, oh great, you're like, oh, that person told me this out of love and care, and I appreciated that, and I feel like this is something I can share out of
Yeah.
love instead of like self-hatred,
Yeah.
or perpetuating that like kind of shame of like you did it wrong.
Mhm.
And there's a way to do it and a way to not do it for sure. But anyway, that's
Yeah.
dang. And I think being like a front facing, you've got your platform. It's like you do have to get really comfortable with yourself or it'll eat you
Yeah.
alive.
I mean, and I've made mistakes on TikTok before and eaten it live in front of people, and sewn through my fingertip live on TikTok. Yeah, but also, I've my best friend at the time that I was going, I used to go live every day for like 4 hours every day. So there was a long time, like a lot of people that would tune into me regularly, and it's kind of also the same time that my cat was passing away, and I was very
Oh no.
emotional, and that all kind of played out on live too, and there it is a community that we're building, and in a community there are highs and lows, and certainly you don't want to
Mhm.
burden someone with too many lows all the time, but having those vulnerable moments too, or
Right.
I was stressed out about those kind of when they were happening in the moment, but looking
Mm.
back on them, I'm like, I'm kind of glad that I had my friends and the people that I was working with around me during that time.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like it helped? Because obviously, like, I don't know who likes making mistakes in front of people, but like, do you feel like because you did that, it gave other people permission to not be perfect all the
Well,
time?
yeah, and we as quilters say finishes better than perfect all the time.
Right.
Cut to us like at 3 a.m. like seam ripping one stupid, seam just because it's just a little bit off, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so doing it on TikTok really did allow me the freedom to live up to finishes better than perfect. And I was working with a lot of beginners who did not have a lot of confidence. So pointing
Mm,
out and saying like, look, this is where I've messed up on my project, and then pulling it back and saying like, you can't see how I'm 6 feet away right now. You can't see the mistake. And so, and some people say like, oh, don't point out your mistakes. Well, I just think it's helpful. I think it just rips the
yeah.
band-aid off. It allows for people to do things, and I do talk about you have to look at the mistake that is made and make a judgment call. If you're
Yeah.
sewing for yourself and you look at it and you're like, that really doesn't bother me, then don't seam rip. Keep going with it. But
Yeah.
if you're making it for somebody else, then maybe you do want to take the time and really seam rip. If this person never
Mhm.
quilted before, though, they're not going to know the difference. If it's
Right.
an old time quilter, they're going to know where you came from too. So they're not going to judge you if you're a newbie and make a
Right.
mistake. So, you know,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's like such an interesting like perspective too, because I think when you're, especially if you're new, like the whole point is to just like introduce you to it, to get you sewing on your machine, to get you kind of learning the lingo, learning the kind of basic rules, the fundamentals that will get you anywhere,
yeah,
right? And so it's like we can nitpick it later. Right now, we just need to focus on you being comfortable on your machine and being comfortable looking at fabric and knowing like,
yeah.
okay, I need to fix my seam allowance, but right now I'm just going to keep sewing to make sure I get this thing done. And like, I think
It's
if you,
so much, you have so much from a sensory perspective to have to learn when you're first starting sewing. There's so much to look. It's like when you're driving a car and you have to learn to every once in a while, you got to look at different mirrors and you got to be constantly looking at the road, but also keeping at the mirror. That's exactly what you're doing when you're sewing too. You got to look at all these different places all at once and,
Mhm.
right sides together. It's just so much stuff to layer on top that, yeah, it's,
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot.
yep. And
And
I want my beginners to give them enough to get them to that next step. And
yeah, yeah, it's because I think if you finish something and it's like maybe it's not as perfect, but it's like, okay, well, and when I was teaching long arming at my local quilt shop, I was just like, some of the participants, they would kind of be like, oh, I'm not good at this. And I'm like, well, gosh, I mean, you've only been practicing, you've
right,
practiced for one whole hour. You should be
right,
perfect by now. They'd be like, what? And I'm like, you've literally done this for only 1 hour. Like,
yeah.
you
Give
can't,
yourself some grace. It's
you're
fine.
gonna be okay.
Yeah,
Like, you're literally following a printed out perfect like design.
yeah,
You're using a laser and like having to look at that while you're quilting on the backside. Like you're doing the things that don't feel natural because you're on the opposite side of the quilt that feels correct. And then you're like following a laser, but you're going the direction that you is opposite of your handwriting. And like, yeah, it's gonna feel weird and it's gonna be
yeah.
crazy, but I promise you, if
You'll
you
get
keep
used to it.
practicing,
Yeah,
it'll be okay. Yeah. And so it would just help them relax because they're just like, oh, they get so worked up. And I'm like, hold on. I'm like, oh gosh, how long have you been doing this? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, how long have you been long arming? They're like, today. I'm like, oh God, okay,
okay,
cool.
right.
Let's get
You're
back to square
yeah,
one, babe. Like, we're
yeah,
here today to teach you this because you've
yeah,
never done it before. Like, I've done it a million times and I
yeah,
still kind of suck. So, like, it's going to be okay. So, that kind of reminder, too, of like, we all start being so shitty at stuff. Like, you
yeah,
can't be just like perfect when you first start out. And that I think is harder with like adult learners.
yep, yeah. And what you see in your head, and when you see something in your head so clearly and your hands can't make it happen, it is
Yeah.
very frustrating. But
Hmm.
that's what we're learning to do, and it
Yeah.
does take time, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be fine. We're gonna pivot to fashion because
Okay,
QuiltCon, well, when this comes out,
we will have
we'll
done
all
QuiltCon.
be
Yeah,
in the QuiltCon hangover
yeah. Back to
slash
life, back to reality.
like trying to not cry because it's over
Yeah.
situation. But so you have been, like you said, on the platform to show off the fashion of QuiltCon because it's stunning. It's astounding. It's like any like word you can think that makes your jaw hit the floor. People make some of the crazy coolest stuff just to go show it off at QuiltCon.
Yep. And that's the only intention that they're sewing it. It's just to sew it off. It's so cool because we appreciate it. Where you're there in a room with a bunch of people that are gonna appreciate it and gonna love it,
Yeah.
and maybe steal some of your ideas too, or in the best possible way. Like
Mm-hmm.
be inspired by the things that you're doing, and that's really the whole reason why I wanted to get into it and do it is just to keep pushing the envelopes. I'm sure you've worked with like quilters who were engineers by training and now they're quilters, and
Yeah.
they have like a certain way that they do things which is different
Yeah.
than like a traditional quilter might do.
Yeah.
Well, certainly we have some things that we can learn from them. They have
Mm-hmm.
some stuff that they can learn from us, and I think the sweet spot is where we start pulling from other techniques and other things and start incorporating those into quilts. And that's what I'm so excited about, the quilt fashion side of things, is like try to pull it, because when I was working in these costume shops, I would bring like I don't have it, I would bring like an acrylic ruler and my
Yeah.
sewing machine with me, and they'd give me a hard time because they use metal rulers, and
Mm.
a lot in fashion. And they would call me, oh, you're a quilter kind of thing. And
Yeah.
then the more I would be working in there, they'd be like, hey, let me see that ruler a little bit, because it's see through and you can actually fussy cut with it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, and then what I picked up from them, when you're sewing in a costume shop, you're not paid by the hour, you're paid for the project, right?
Okay.
So pinning takes time.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes you're sewing on an industrial machine, and it takes time to pin and unpin things. And then while you're sewing, it's just moving through too fast that you don't want to break a needle, accidentally
Right.
if you hit a pin, which happens, very rarely. But when you're going that fast, if it happens, you could really ruin a project.
Yeah.
And so I did pick up that ability, the ability from them to not depend on pins so much. And I have incorporated that in my quilting, and that has
Mm-hmm.
increased my speed a lot. And I do so on an industrial juki. But all that to say is, it's like we need to be picking up little techniques and little things that improve our ability to do things. Maybe not everything that everyone has to offer you're going to take on and use as a tool, but certainly there's going to be little nuggets along the way that you can start pulling from different industries and different ways of thinking, and improve things, and for your practice, and to get you making more quilts, and to further what we consider art quilts, and to further techniques along the way. And that's just so exciting to me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so fun. And like, you know, having grown up in a house where like garment sewing was the thing, it's just like so exciting to see what people create from,
Right.
what we look at and think, oh, quilts, but then they're like, actually, what about this? It's so fun to see. And it it's like a giant show and tell. So it's like you're not only there for the amazing quilts to see the mad amount of work that people put into things like into this quilts that got into the show, and even those that didn't get in the show,
Oh,
like
people get so upset about not getting into the show.
I
And
know.
I do feel bad for that too, but it's like, make a quilted coat and then
Yeah.
show up, and we'll give you a
Right.
little platform. You can still have a platform. You can still show the world your garment, and
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about anyone like actually judging you for it too. So
Right. Right. Exactly. And it's most of the time people are going to be just more excited to see what you made, or like, you know, again, to be inspired. It's like
yep.
we've all got our kind of like perspectives and niches of our life outside of quilting that inform kind of how we do what we do. And you're right, there's so many engineers in quilting. It's like I'm always like, oh, what do you do by day? And people are like, oh, I'm an
I'm an
engineer. And I'm like,
engineer.
of course you are. Of
Yeah.
freaking course you are. Like,
Yep.
what the heck? It's fine. I'm
Yeah.
like STEM and quilting. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
It's
the
hand in hand.
precision
Yep.
of it, the like, I don't know, but it is super funny. But yeah, I love it. And so I guess like did QuiltCon come to you? Like were you I guess yeah, what's the evolution of you being
So,
on their platform to do
yeah.
it?
So, okay, how it got started, I was back, rewind, I was just had my little platform on TikTok. And I got the opportunity to go to the Houston International Quilt Market. I
Okay.
had been going to, I grew up in Houston, so I've been going to festival side of things since I was, third grade was when we moved to Houston. And my mom went to it every year. So she kind of brought me along early on. And I never got to go to the market side of things and see the behind the scenes and that kind of thing. I guess for the listeners who don't know, there was the market and the festival,
Right.
and for market you have to have your wholesale account and your shop credentials to be able to get into that. The festival side is open to the public.
Mhm.
RIP market, they're not doing that anymore. Anyways, so I was live on TikTok showing quilts, and we were just talking about it. And I was kind of the lens of that day was just talking about the difference between hand quilting and machine quilting, and how we tell the difference when we're at a show, and kind of the general. When you're at a quilt show, you're not going to touch the quilts. There's white gloves over here, so you're going to ask these people with the white gloves to show you the back of the quilts. And
Yeah.
or anything like that, going through all the protocol and that kind of thing. And someone came on my live that was in Modern Quilt Guild at the time, or higher up at the Modern Quilt Guild.
Hmm.
And we, started talking, and she followed me on TikTok, and we spoke a little bit more. I think she came to one of my lives after that, and I was like, I want to do something with this. Let's get a fashion show going on.
Yeah.
And uh I hopped on a Zoom call with her, and with the team. And we were kind of a little bit too late in the process to actually
Mm.
get a fashion show. I pitched the idea of doing a fashion show,
Yeah.
and we were kind of late in the process to get that going. But they're like, but we would love you to do social media coverage.
Hmm.
So that's how I kind of got in the process. And then this year I reached out to them and was like, hey, remember me from last year and
Yeah.
that content that I created?
Yeah.
This year we're getting in real early, so if you can give me a little time on the demo stage, we'll take this and blow it up and make it a bigger thing. And Ruby Star still does their fashion show, which is awesome. It's so fun at their booth.
Yeah.
But it's at the booth. It's really crammed in, and it can get really tight with all the people that are there and people trying to walk
Right.
through the aisles at the time. So I really wanted to give us a platform where you could have a proper audience, where people could sit down, watch the show,
Yeah.
and everyone could have their proper, 5 seconds of fame on the demo stage, and give a chance to shout out what they're doing, and
Hmm.
hopefully encourage the people to, maybe you see them the next day on the floor, and you get to strike up a conversation about the garment. And that's what
Yeah.
I'm really excited about. I'm hoping to bring to QuiltCon.
Yeah. That's so fun. Yeah, we heard kind of like murmurs last year of like, oh yeah, we wanted to do a fashion show, blah blah blah. Like it just wasn't working out, and we're like the MQG said no because everything gets like dramatized. Like
Right,
they,
right.
I'm like, I'm sure it was just like I try
It
to give
was
people the benefit of the
it
doubt
was
because
logistics. It was
yeah,
like the
yeah,
demo schedule was already set, and
yeah,
I was
yeah, yeah,
asking for time on the demo schedule. You know what I mean? It
yeah,
was like
for
it was
sure.
way outside of people's hands. No one was
Yeah,
everyone at Modern Quilt Guild is very enthusiastic about it, and they want to pull it off as best they can with
yeah.
however they got going on. They have a million things on their
Oh
plate too.
yeah.
So,
Absolutely, absolutely. And so actually kind of them to not just like try to shove it in and like force it when it's like, no, we actually want to give this time and give it thought and make
yeah,
sure that it does fit in and that we're not stepping on other toes, that we already made promises. And like I admire that because I think it can be to run something like that can be so chaotic and crazy. And like we just get to come and enjoy it, not even thinking about
right.
everything that goes on behind the scenes. And like I think because I volunteer and I get involved with my local quilt show, I have just like the tiniest little bit of
Right.
taste and
The
knowledge of like
sliver of
what
what it
is going
takes. Yeah.
literally the end like it's like it's like a Nightmare Before Christmas when they're like only 364 days until Halloween.
Yeah,
Like it's
exactly.
that's how we are about the quilt show. So it's
Yeah.
like I know that like things have to start so early and anyway, enough about me. Well, I'm so excited. I am coming to QuiltCon this year with I've quilted two quilts that are in the show.
Oh, that, yes,
Um
I did know that. Yeah.
yeah. So Eva Saunders of Gingerly Quilt Co. and I collaborated on her Mocha Glam quilt. So she designed the pattern, made the quilt top, and then she sent it to me and I did custom quilting on it. And then I quilted the Katie's quilt that got in.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm so excited for that. But I'm also bringing like an entourage. I've got my mom, my sister, my husband, my youngest brother, and his wife live out there. So they're going to come meet us at QuiltCon. And so I'm very excited about that. But my sister-in-law is like very crafty. Like she's building a platform of like DIY handmade,
Oh, cool.
all the things. She does like miniatures. Like she and my brother are just like the craftiest humans on the planet. It's so great. But anyway, and so she's been like,
You guys got a
okay,
crafty family. This is
I know.
awesome.
Yeah, it's really great. And so she's been like, okay, I want to make stuff and what do I do? And so it was I was like, well, there's like QuiltCon fashion umbrella, and then there's like the Ruby Star, you know, zone
Theme
of it.
days. Yeah.
Yeah, like theme days, and people make stuff out of their fabric because they always have such great hero prints and all this stuff, and jumpsuits and this and that. She's like, oh my gosh. I'm like, but the great thing is that there's like so many other people who come having made things out of different like you don't have to just as much as I love
Yeah.
it, like you don't have to just be you know, uh niched into Ruby Star to have fashion that's noticeable and that is like really fun to show off at the show. Cause like I made, a quilt jacket out of like a basically a discarded quilt top that was like vintage hand sewn. It was disgusting when I got it from a silent auction. But I was like, well, I want to try making a jacket.
Yeah.
So this is the perfect thing.
I've got this. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just like soaked it and repaired what I could and
Yeah.
quilted the crap
Did
out
the
of it.
retro wash on it to get the yellow staining out
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah,
And it didn't work on all of it. So then it's like I had to be
well,
creative with the
cut
placement
around
piece.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Cut around it or just like flip it inside out. So anyway, so but I'm like,
Well, and that, that reminds me, there's a people that when I tell them I teach quilted coats, people are like, well, how could you cut up those quilts? How can you cut up those old quilts? And it's like, well, if you made a quilt for somebody and they had it for 80 years and the thing had holes in it, and then finally their great grandkid cut it up and turned it into a coat and they got another 10 years of wear out of that, wouldn't you be glad
yeah,
and they always say yes, and it's like, okay, well, that's what we're doing
yeah.
here. We're just cutting around the damage, we're sewing it back together.
Hmm.
If we're too emotionally attached to it, we're not going to cut it up, but
Right? That's not the goal here.
yeah, if it's in
Yeah.
some auction or in some something, then
Yeah.
and you can get it for cheap, then yeah, why not?
Yeah. I'm like, for 25 bucks,
Right, exactly,
I
save me
didn't
the
have
time of
to,
piecing. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't have to hand piece all those I mean, this thing was hand sewn, so it's like all these little diamonds, and I'm like, I would never, but I didn't have to. So
Yeah.
I all I did was the part I like, which is the long arming part, and then use the template that my mom and I had, and I made my quilt coat. And like
Yeah.
I still wear it because like you're wearing a quilt, like it's
Yeah,
the
it's the best.
comfiest.
It's like just having a quilt wrapped around you, but
Yeah,
socially acceptable because it's got sleeves.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, so where it's like uh, a bougie snuggie,
Yeah, exactly.
it, and I'm here for it because who doesn't need a bougie snuggie?
Yeah. Nuggies are the greatest. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I just don't like all the static electricity.
Yeah.
It like triggers my ick so quickly.
Yeah.
But a quilt version doesn't do that. It's
Yeah.
cotton. So
100% cotton, baby. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Okay, so QuiltCon fashion show is happening this year, which again, by the time this airs, QuiltCon will have just concluded. So
It's the best fashion show ever that has happened the first
I've
time.
never seen anything better. It was great. I loved
I'm
walking on
so
that
inspired. I can't wait.
stage.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
with my Ruby Star lounge pants. Yeah, it's gonna be exciting to see, I think, because
It's
it's a like a new, I don't know. I think I feel like a lot of like millennial and younger people who quilt are also very interested in dipping toes and like all the other
yeah,
things
totally.
attached to
And
sewing.
like we talked about, a Houston festival is no longer a thing. A lot of people are now going to H&H instead of
Yeah.
going to the market side of things in Houston. And the thing that I kept on hearing this past year at market and everyone talking about H&H is it's
Hmm.
so great. It's got this great energy because the crocheters are standing around crocheting and the knitters are all around talking, and there's
Yeah.
different like groups of crafters and they all have excitement and they all have energy,
Yeah.
and that's kind of that sweet spot is like opening up the world of crafting and quilting to everybody else and not being like this is quilting, it can only be this,
Yeah.
and modern really exemplifies it, so it just makes sense to try to get that fashion thing going with modern, and
Yeah.
they're very supportive of us, so
Yeah. That's incredible and so fun. And, again, just like another fun twist of like letting people show off,
yeah,
show out because we put a lot of work into what we do. And it's like we're going to be in a space where it can be appreciated, where the
yeah,
people attending can look at it and go, oh my
they
God.
know the work that went into it, they know how much you did into
Yeah.
it, they can appreciate it,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah. And they're not going to look at it and go, oh, that's cool.
And some of my favorite stuff that I see at QuiltCon aren't even like the fully made garments. It's when somebody like seam rips their jean leg up and inserts a really cool panel and makes these awesome bell bottoms, and incorporates that same trim in a jacket or something, or
Yeah.
the people that embellish the jumpsuits and things like that. Some of those are my most favorite quilty moments, and
Yeah.
um so
Yeah.
you don't have to make a full quilted garment head to toe, but you can still have some quilty style incorporated in, and people love it, and it's very well
Yeah.
appreciated. It's
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think too, like, allowing space to like nod to that, because I think sometimes people feel like, oh, I just did XYZ. It's like, no, you did that. Like, don't say just.
great.
I'm the worst perpetrator. I will say just, oh, I just this or I just that, and I'm like, stop it.
Yeah,
Like, no, you did the damn thing. You made it. You had the idea to like add that there. You made a unique piece of clothing because you felt compelled and you like got creative and used your like really beautiful brain to do that.
yep.
And like, who else here has that? Nobody, because you made that.
And we as quilters, we know in our head what we want the finished project to work, and a lot of us like will beat ourselves up if the finished project is not exactly what we see in our head. But
Right.
then you have the stranger eyes come upon it, and they love it, they don't see any of the flaws,
Hmm.
and it's very that energy. We got to keep on reminding ourselves of that, like what
Yeah.
just because you can't see what's in my head, it doesn't mean that product is still not amazing.
Right. Well, it's the same, it's just like we're talking about with quilts. It's like we're I know for a fact the pants I made are not perfect. I, used a template. I made a template from pants I already have and just was like, whatever, this is gonna, I'm not reinventing the wheel here, right?
Right,
And there's things about it that I'm like, ugh, bleh, but I'm like, who's gonna look inside my
right,
pants? Like,
right. No
I
one's
mean, I
looking
don't
on.
mean that in a
Yeah,
gross
yeah,
way, but like
yeah,
this
yeah. The
and like,
seams on the inside, no one
yeah,
cares about. Like
like
no one's gonna see it.
exactly. And I'm like, they're going to serve their purpose. They're going to look
Right.
so fucking cute and I'm going to feel comfortable in them. And it's the same fabric I used for my caftan last year. So there's like a little continuity
Yeah.
there. So we went
Cute.
from rich auntie to rich auntie vibe, just like
Yeah.
different rich auntie
Coastal
vibe.
rich auntie. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So, um,
Well, and like in the costume world, when we made costumes, they look gorgeous on the outside, but the
Yeah,
other side was like an absolute train wreck, if you
right.
get any closer to it. But
Yeah.
it's fine. They didn't need to see it. So
Right.
they
It's
weren't
like
ever
the
going to see it.
impact. Yeah, the visual impact on the outside is what's important, right? So it's
Right.
like so you may be nitpicking your outfit. It may not match exactly what you had in your head, but someone's going to see it and go, "Oh my God, I can't believe you made that." And it's going to be genuine and it's going to be exciting and it's going to like hopefully take all that away from your
And
brain.
there's a lot of people that will not say anything to you in the moment, but the second you walk away, they're like, "Oh, did you see that girl? And she was wearing the da da da." And oh my gosh, isn't that so cool?
Yeah.
And so you got to keep your ear open too for when you do walk away, when you make something, even if you're not getting comments, it doesn't mean that people aren't talking about it and aren't inspired by it.
Yeah, exactly. And you never know. Like I ran into somebody who made the or not the exact same caftan, but made a caftan out of the exact same fabric. And like I didn't know we hadn't seen each other. And so, but then when people saw us like taking pictures, they're like, "Oh, did you guys plan this?" We're like, "No, we've never met." But it was
Yeah,
like, but we have pictures together because it was so fun to like bump into each other and see that we had made something out of the same
same
fabric.
stuff.
So
And then
yeah,
if when you see her next, if she's at the show this coming year, then
yeah,
y'all are gonna have that camaraderie there, that moment that you guys your Venn diagrams crossed over each other, and
yeah,
that's
yeah.
so cool.
Yeah, exactly. So, and yeah, like the Ruby Star fashion show is so fun. And you're right, it is kind of tricky to like be out in the aisle and
Just
that's
not everyone. You can't see everything that's going on because there's just so many people and they're so
right,
enthusiastic about it, and
right.
so
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like this is for Ruby Star
it's a good
fabric.
problem. It's a great
It's
it's
a
a great
great
problem.
problem. It's
It's
a
great.
seriously, yeah. Like sometimes I like think about things and I'm like, even yesterday I was like complaining about something and I was like, first world problems, get over
Right.
it, like
Right.
calm down, like this is actually so cool that this is
If
an issue.
too many people show up to the fashion show, it's fine. We're good. We're doing good. We're doing
Yeah.
really good. So,
Yeah. Do you hope to do it again next year
oh yes,
when
and
you go to Atlanta?
I'm hoping that we can grow the fashion show into something. They gave us 30 minutes on 2 days, and I think we need a little bit more time. I would like a little bit more time. One of these days we're going to be talking, and they're going to have a whole day dedicated to quilt fashion. I don't know. I maybe I'm getting
Maybe.
a little ahead of myself, but
We can manifest whatever we want. And
yeah,
who knows, because depending on, how, after the dust all settles and kind of like looking at it and the numbers and like who participated and what showed up, like it may be warranted to have
right.
a day or a half a day even of like,
Yeah. Like
we're
if like
doing pants.
Wednesday starts off with like a fashion show,
Yeah.
even before the show actually opens up, and then you get a chance to see people, and then you have the whole show then to possibly bump into the people who made the outfit that you can't stop thinking about, or
Right.
something like that. That's kind of what my long term I would love it to be. I mean, I only have so much power over the situation. I'll pitch
Sure, sure.
it and I'll do my best to grow it and make it big and make it really special and really fun. So, and
Yeah.
yeah, I'm thankful for the platform, but hopefully we can get it a little bit bigger. Maybe I think.
Yeah. I think we can. And I mean, I just hope, the turnout is one that's just affirming that it's something that the people want. And I think
Yeah,
that's like the the modern thing to do is kind of on the progressive should be, at
yeah,
least in my mind, on the progressive end of things. If this is what your participants are showing you that they want, this is where they're at, like then you should reciprocate. And obviously quilts are still gonna be a thing because it's a modern quilt guild.
yeah,
Quilting is still a focus, but it's like, but we're also multifaceted. We
yeah,
also have so many other, I don't know if it's the space to bring in like yarn craft and all that, but like people can add, other
yeah,
fiber
yeah.
stuff into
Exactly,
it's like there's so many different
exactly.
ways. But yeah, I would hope to see that, grow
And
and continue because
well, I've heard feedback from people that like there's one person I'm in particular thinking about who um was like, well, I actually wasn't planning to go to QuiltCon this year. It's quite an expense for me to go out, but now that I know that because I did talk to her about I want to get a fashion show, and she was like, well, now that I know that we have a proper runway. I'm gonna go, and I just made 4 outfits and da 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 da. And so to me, there is a there is something there, and maybe it is hard to do a quilt that is show worthy, right?
Hmm.
And we have all there's the Instagram post that I got rejected from QuiltCon and all that goes.
Yeah.
And so this maybe gives people that platform. The stakes are a little bit lower because it's not adjudicated, but it does give you that platform, and it does
Right.
legitimize the work that you're doing, and the vision that you're doing, and you were recognized for that. And
Yeah.
I think there is a there. I think there's something bigger than what we've got going so far, and I can't wait to throw gasoline onto that fire.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's like, you might end up making something and then you don't hear, because people might talk about it when they walk away or walk by you and not to you. And so it can maybe feel like a little disheartening to some people if they feel like I made this thing and I'm really proud of it. And then people are too nervous to like walk up and be like, did you make this?
Yeah.
And it's easy to assume at QuiltCon that people made most of what they're wearing,
Yep.
unless you can tell like, oh, that's an Old Navy sweatshirt. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
but it's just yeah, again, it's like a space and an honoring of like, look at this cool stuff that people made, and hopefully that opens up more conversation or more connections for people that they maybe weren't gonna get otherwise,
Yep.
and that just feels so cool because it's again like opening up community and offering another, just like, yeah, another opportunity for more community to be made and for more connections to be made and people
And
to
with
come together.
QuiltCon bouncing around to different cities, it lets that kind of spread out like organically too across the country and across the world too. Like,
Yeah.
if someone sees something that they're inspired by, then they might go and like integrate it into the stuff that they're teaching, and it's going to have ripple effects down the road. So,
Yeah, for sure. For sure. That's, you can hope, but like, I mean, I'm gonna say, yeah, that's 100% for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
So fun. Well, okay. So you started writing some patterns,
yes.
and when did you publish your first pattern?
I did my first pattern was for what I call my watermelon hug. And I wrote I just made the quilt without a pattern many years ago when we first moved to LA, and I had just gotten like a new machine and I wanted to test it out, and I made my watermelon hug. And then we did it as a sew along on TikTok, and I really wrote the pattern just to be able to like aid that process of doing the sew
Mm,
along and that kind of thing.
hmm.
And I am really proud. It's a very simple stitch and flip quilt as you go pattern. It's
Okay.
never going to win any kind of award, but it is my most proud creation to date. I am very proud of it. I like the pattern, and I like to use it to be able to teach newbies how to sew, because I do think it lets you get stair step your skills and feel really
Hmm.
confident in sewing. And I have taught that in person here in Albuquerque a few times, and I'm really proud of it. I expanded the pattern to do. I have a watermelon, a pineapple, and a cantaloupe, and we do different things with each pattern. The first pattern is just really learning your machine and learning the basics of sewing, and then,
Hmm.
the pineapple, like we talk a little bit more about marking for quilting and
Mm,
working those kinds of things. And then in the cantaloupe, we get into free motion quilting a little bit, because the rind of a cantaloupe has kind of got that like
yeah.
swirly kind of pattern to it. So we
Hmm.
do that in the rind part. So I use those mostly for teaching. I don't market them a lot as like independent patterns, and certainly I've grown as a pattern writer since I first published those. So I do want to revamp those a little bit, and get them updated. I'll add it to the laundry list of all the things I have to get to, but that's
Right.
on there. And I wrote a Bargello pattern when I mentioned earlier, my cat, my best friend of 14 years passed away, and I was very emotional about that. So I wrote a Bargello pattern kind of to work through those emotions. So I got that out. I'm just doing my very first, we're going to do a block exchange. I don't know how much information I can share. I have a Zoom call tomorrow more about it, but it's one of those like
Mhm.
social media ones where you sign up
Mhm.
and we send you blocks and that kind of thing. And so I wrote my first block pattern, and because usually I think of the big picture kind of thing, and so this was just working on one block pattern. So that was a fun exercise, and I really had a fun time writing that pattern, and that inspired me to do some other projects, some small like wall hanging type things,
Mm.
based on the kind of design of that. So I'm going to start releasing those too again when I have more time after
Yeah.
QuiltCon. I'll be able to chip away at some of this stuff a little bit more. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited about that.
Yeah. How exciting. And I mean, the profound love, right? Is
Yes,
the
that's my
Bargello
Bargello.
heart.
Yeah.
Okay. So beautiful.
Oh, thank
And
you.
I'm so sorry about your kitty.
Yeah, and that piece, it's called Profound Love, and it's the heart is it's a heart and a square, right? But
Hmm.
my idea was, when my cat passed, I was very emotional, very sad, and people would call and say how sorry they were, and I'd be crying, and it was like, I couldn't find a word to talk about my emotions because sadness felt too small of an emotion. We had all this history together. He was my best friend of 14 years. We went to New York City together. He was there for
Hmm.
me after every bad audition I went to. He was always there for me. So
Hmm.
sad was just too small of a word, and it was like it was love. It was love that I felt.
Yeah.
And I wanted to represent love that transcended darkness. So the heart is outside of the border of the square, and that's kind of what I was trying to get accomplished, is just the feeling
Okay.
of a love that transcends darkness and happiness and all of these smaller emotions. There's this bigger emotion behind it, so that's the
Yeah.
impetus behind that.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And like, I have a very old senior cat. I say very old. She doesn't look like it, but she's 18.
Yeah. Oh, she's
And
she's she that's great for a cat. That's awesome.
yeah, I thought we were at the end at Christmas time, so
Oh,
that was like really sad. But she is okay. She's on medication. I never thought I'd be like a pet a pet mom who
yeah,
gives their pet medication. But like that's my baby. Like I
yeah,
was literally in shambles because she wasn't eating whatever. Anyway, so she's okay. Most cats after, I guess I didn't know this either, but like past 10 years old, a lot of them get hyperthyroidism, and
yep,
that's
yeah,
what she's got, and she's got damaged kidneys from it. And I'm just
yeah.
like, good Lord, Betsy
That's what
Anderson.
Yeah, that's what my cat passed with, of renal failure. And
Mm.
yep. So
Ugh, freaking cats, man. And
yeah,
I told my husband, I was like, I can't, because I got her, and then we literally started dating like the next
that's
week. So
that's
like,
me and my cat. I had my cat for 3 years before I met my partner. So
okay,
when my partner would be like, "That's our cat," I'm like, "Well, that's my cat.
yeah,
That he likes you." But if you and I break up, this cat's coming with me. This is together forever. This is what forever looks like,
yeah.
So,
I'm like, this is my daughter. I mean, I'm always
right?
like, you're a cat when I don't want to deal with her, but
Yeah, yeah.
he's like, no, she's yours. I'm like, mm-mm. He's like, you birthed her. How dare you disown her? I'm like, I'm not disowning her. I'm just telling you to take responsibility.
You can
Ugh.
clean up her barf on the floor.
Yeah, like you're not the one waking up to a hairball on your
Yeah,
side of the bed. It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, so I just like that scare and how wrecked I was. I'm like, I'm gonna be.
oh,
So the fact that you could like design a quilt pattern out of that, I was like,
that's how I dealt with
girl,
it. I would be a lot more unhinged if I didn't put my energy into that.
yeah.
And he was a Maine Coon, so he had that kind of like M thing. So the
Yeah.
Bargello kind of in the center, kind of I tried to work him into that pattern. So
Oh,
and so I do see him every time I look at that quilt in a good
yeah.
way.
Good.
So
Yeah. And I think I love that reframing of it because I think it's like so easy to like drown yourself in the sadness and the despair and just the emptiness that's there, like when you lose somebody, a pet or otherwise.
yeah,
And so to flip it and be like, oh, this is just so much love that doesn't have anywhere to go now. Let's turn it into something beautiful. It's,
yeah.
I mean, you're doing the world a service. So thank
Oh,
you for
thank you,
that.
thank you. I mean, I did it selfishly for my own needs, but then I was like, well, I'll put it out in the world, and I haven't done a great job of marketing it, but you know, it was emotional for me. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's beautiful. And I hope
thank you.
us talking about it gets people to go look at it because
Yeah.
it's gorgeous. And I think,
I have more colorways of it. I have to get them quilted, and so that's I'm sure once I again I got a laundry list of things, but once we
yeah.
get that going, it'll help. But
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, that's incredible. I'm excited to see your block patterns when you can release them
yeah,
because
thank you.
block patterns are always so fun because you can do whatever you want with them and
Yeah,
you can, you know, make a million iterations and make a quilt, or you can, tack it onto the back of a jacket or make a tote bag, or, it's like there's so many cool things you can do with just like a single block. So I love a good, fun
and
block pattern.
the girl who's running it did a mock-up of all her blocks the other day, and it looked so the sampler quilt looked so good with all of her blocks in it, and mine's so different than everybody else's, but they just
Hmm.
work really well together. And I am working with a bunch of very talented ladies on that project, and I'm learning a lot from them, and I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah.
I'm excited about this project. I don't know how much I can share more, but maybe I can tell you later on about it, or
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, this will just force people to have to like really watch your space
Yep.
and
Follow
keep an eye
along.
on it and follow you and make sure they don't miss the release of that. Because I mean, it, who wants to miss out on new stuff?
Yeah.
I don't. I
Yeah.
love seeing like when people release stuff. I'm like, oh yes, another cool release from
Right.
one of the friends of the pod, and
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
it's like so fun to get to cheer people on and see that happening. And so it'll just get added to the list now of
Yeah.
people I cheerlead for.
You're collecting a lot of really talented people too to read on. So you're gonna be busy.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying. I was just telling my friends, I was like, I feel like I'm collecting Pokemon.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've got all these people in my like little, my little Pokeball now that I'm
Yeah.
like, you're mine. No.
That's fine. I'm happy with it. I'll take it. I'll be in your Pokeball.
Yay!
Yeah.
That makes me happy. So funny. Well, thank you for being on the show today
Thank you
and
for having me. Yes.
talking with me. And
This
I know
has
we've,
been a dream for mine for a long time. So I'm so thankful that
oh,
you had me on, and can't wait to see you next week in QuiltCon, or last week when people are hearing this. So
right. Yeah. Like we will have already spent the whole weekend together. It's fine.
yeah.
I'm gonna be like, sorry, family and husband. I'm gonna go hang out with Pat.
Yeah.
No, it'll be good. We'll be in each other's content, so it'll be
Yeah.
great. That'll be so fun. Well, yeah, thanks again. And before we hop off though, do you have a piece of advice or a tip for our listeners?
I do have a piece of advice, and that is it's twofold. So the first blanket statement is go to QuiltCon.
Okay.
But the in depth a little bit more is make sure you carve out time to be social on the floor. A lot of people go and they fill up their time with classes, and
Hmm.
or they take so many classes that by the time they're done with it, they're kind of fried and they want to go and get some food and then go to the hotel and go back to bed. Do carve out some time to go and form these social connections at QuiltCon. It's been some of the best friends that I've met. I've learned so much from these relationships that I've formed from going to QuiltCon and meeting these people. And go out, be social, talk to somebody when somebody's make some has a garment on that you like. Strike up a conversation with them. That's really what QuiltCon is about for me, is forming those relationships and those connections. So that's my advice. Carve out time during QuiltCon to be social and to talk to people that you wouldn't necessarily, be talking about. Make stickers, go drink the Kool-Aid, go in and have fun, exchange stickers with people, and
Yeah.
it's a great experience. So
Okay, well, with that advice in people's back pockets, they can start planning for next year. I think it's going to be in Atlanta.
yep, I think
Okay.
Atlanta should be really fun. Hot Atlanta should be a good
Hot
time.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah. So East Coast again, but I don't know the logistics. Don't get mad at me. Don't come at
we
me.
we have plenty of time to start saving our pennies and figuring out people to Airbnb with,
Exactly.
and planning out the outfit. Only 364 more days until QuiltCon Atlanta. So
Yeah, exactly. Well, it'll be great. But anyway, well, thanks again. And I'm excited
yes,
to see what you've got coming up, and we'll
thank
stay in
you.
touch.
All right, sounds great.